What's going on, everyone? I'm back here with my full in-depth review of the iPhone 7. So I've had the phone for about a couple weeks now, and so far I have really been liking it. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and start with the hardware of the device. So looking at the front, we have the 4.7-inch diagonal display, which has a resolution of 1334 by 750 and a pixel density of 326 ppi. It also has 1400 to 1 contrast ratio, which is actually slightly better than the 7 Plus. It is also still LED backlit. One thing Apple has done, however, is they've made the screen brighter and made the colors better by a wider color gamut. So moving on from the display, we have the new improved home button, which is now Force Touch. It is no longer a physical clicking button. So basically it is a solid state button that does not move. And essentially what Apple does is they use the new Taptic engine to give it a feeling, or give it the sense that you're actually pressing a button, but in reality you're not. And actually it works quite well. It is something to take time to get used to, because there is definitely a different feel to it, and some people may not like that. Okay, moving on from that. At the top here, we have our new improved front-facing camera, which is now 7 megapixels that can record 1080p at 30 frames per second. And it also has auto image stabilization for still pictures. Next to that, we have our earpiece, which also acts as the first of the 2 stereo speakers. And then above the earpiece, we have our proximity sensor and ambient light sensor. So, okay, moving on to this side, we have our mute switch, volume up and down keys. On this side, we have our sleep-wake button and our nano SIM tray. On the bottom, we have the no headphone jack. Again, the 7 and 7 Plus no longer include the 3.5mm headphone jack, so you have to use the adapter that is included in the box. But anyway, in place of the headphone jack, we have an amplifier, which accompanies the stereo speakers to give better sound. And there's also a microphone down here as well. And then next to that, you have your lightning connector and the second speaker for the stereo speakers. On the back, we have the brand new design, which this is the black model. You can also pick it up in jet black, gold, rose gold, and silver. So you have 5 different color options to choose from, which is nice. But anyway, so yeah, this is the matte black color. So you got the Apple logo on the top here, the iPhone branding. And then the antenna bands have been redesigned. If you can see, they're on the black model, you could pretty much not see the antenna bands at all, which gives it a very clean design. And then at the top here, we have our newly improved 12 megapixel iSight camera, which still records 4K video at 30 frames a second or 1080p at 60 frames per second. It also has a wider f1.8 aperture, which is very good for low light situations. The 4.7-inch model of the iPhone 7 now includes optical image stabilization, which was a feature previously only exclusive to the Plus version of the iPhone. So it's really nice that the smaller version of the phone gets optical image stabilization. And there have been some speculation that the lens cover has moved from sapphire crystal to glass, which is not the case. The lens cover on the camera on both the 7 and 7 Plus is still sapphire crystal, so you can be rest assured that it will not scratch easily. There has also been a slight improvement to the slow motion feature as well. So previously, if you were to record 120 frames per second, it would only allow you to record at 720p, but now you can record 1080p for the 120 frames per second slow motion. So that is another very nice improvement. Next to the camera, we have our microphone, and then we also have our newly improved LED flash, which is still True Tone, but now includes 4 LEDs instead of 2. So the LED flash is going to be much brighter and going to reach a much longer distance for your photos. Alright, so that's basically it of the hardware. So now let's go ahead and move on to some of the tech specs. So let's go ahead and start with the storage capacity. You can pick the iPhone 7 up in 3 different options. So you can do 32 gigabyte, 128 gigabyte, and 256 gigabyte. The dimensions of the phone are basically identical to the 6S. iPhone 6S cases will fit just fine on the iPhone 7, with the exception of the camera lens on the back. Since the lens is bigger, some cases will not fit correctly. Okay, moving on. Something new to the iPhone is it is now IP67 water and dust resistant, which means you can have the iPhone in up to 1 meter of water. Next up, the processor has been improved. We now have an Apple A10 Fusion chip packed in here. And basically, it's a quad-core processor with 64-bit architecture. Now, the quad-core is not what you might come to expect. It's actually, there's 2 high-power cores, which give you very high performance, and then you also have 2 low-power efficiency cores, which is meant to save battery life when you're not using processor-intensive applications and stuff like that. So basically, if you're using and checking your email, you'll be running off of the low power efficiency cores, whereas if you're exporting a video in iMovie, it will switch over automatically to the higher powered cores to give you more performance. And also the processor is also clocked at 2.6 gigahertz, which is a significant increase from the iPhone 6 and 6S. There also is 2 gigabytes of RAM packed in the 4.7-inch model. The 7 Plus has 3 gigs of RAM. And the M10 Motion co-processor is also still included here as well. So now, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick Geekbench test to see just how much faster the A10 chip is compared to the iPhone 6S from last year. So let's go ahead and run the processor benchmark. And as you can see, it actually finished the benchmark relatively quickly. And it appears it got actually a very good score. So we got 3504 for the single core. And then for the multi-core score, we got a 6075, which is very impressive compared to some other smartphones on the market. Now, if we compare it to the iPhone 6S, right here, as you can see, the 6S scored a 2292 for single core and 4293 for the multi-core score. There is also NFC built in, which I believe at this point in time is still only able to be used with Apple Pay. I don't believe Apple has opened up the NFC chip to be used with third-party applications. You could pick it up on the 4 major carriers here in the US, and those would be AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. There is also an upgraded LTE cellular chip as well, which is going to give you much faster LTE speeds. I believe it can give you up to 450 megabit download, which is very, very nice. The Wi-Fi is the same. It still uses the 802.11 ABGN and AC, but now includes MIMO technology. Bluetooth 4.2 is also packed in here as well. And one thing to note is to be able to use the iPhone 7 with your computer, if you're using a Mac, you have to be running at least OS X 10.9 or above. And if you're using a PC, you have to be using at least Windows 7 or above as well. And in terms of the iTunes, you have to be running at least iTunes 12.5 to be able to sync your data. So now let's go ahead and just take a quick tour of the software and see kind of some of the enhancements that is included and exclusive to the 7 with iOS 10. So as you can see, Touch ID is much faster now, so it's just literally a press and you're open. And basically the same thing was with the 6S as well, but this iPhone 7 and 7 Plus improved the Touch ID drastically, in my opinion. It's so much faster. But yeah, the iOS 10 experience on the iPhone 7 is basically the same as what you'd come to expect on the iPhone 6S and below. Just there are some just minor exclusive things to the 7. So for example, if we go into settings, go into general and home button, you'll have the option to customize the click of the new Force Touch home button. So again, I've previously made a video about this, so if you guys want to check it out, I will leave a link in the description below. Some other things you can do are the stereo speakers. So let's go ahead and give a demonstration of kind of how the sound quality is. So I'm going to go ahead and use YouTube as an example. So let's go ahead and go to my profile, or my channel rather, and let's choose a video here. Let's go ahead and say this one of the case. What's going on, everyone? So let's go ahead and increase the volume so you guys can hear it. Okay. I'm back here with another unboxing video. And before we start, I would like to say that I am still battling a cold. So that is why my voice is still kind of not normal. So as you hear, the speakers are actually very, very loud and super, super clear compared to the iPhone 6s. If you compare the sound quality of the 6s to the 7, there is no comparison. The 7 hands down beats it in every possible way. And also, Apple has done something kind of unique with the stereo speakers. So depending on how you're holding your phone, if you're holding in portrait orientation, the stereo speakers will adjust the sound accordingly to be outputted in that orientation. And then if you rotate it into landscape, the stereo speakers will again adjust the audio. We also still have the 3D touch on the iPhone 7 as well. Again, that was already on the 6s, but again, it's been slightly improved to be a little bit more accurate and make it to where you don't have to press the screen as hard as you previously did. So you still can do that. You could press on that. It'll still bring up your standard quick action. But there are some new 3D touch options that are included with iOS 10. So you now have the widgets on the home screen. So if you, for example, press weather, you now get a widget directly on your home screen by force pressing on the application. So you can see here it shows the weather and the temperature, and then it gives you some quick actions down below that as well to jump to some of your weather locations and things like that. And then you have your widget section over here to the left hand side, which is something also new in iOS 10. So previously this used to be called the Today view in iOS 9, and basically this is where on the home screen you didn't have widgets in this section. Basically it was just your news, Siri app suggestions and things like that. But now Apple has completely redesigned the Today view on the home screen. It still includes search. You still now get all of your widgets and stuff like that. But another thing to access the widgets is pulling down from the top of the screen. And previously when you would do this, you'd get quick access to your widgets. Now basically what Apple has done is they force you to look at your notifications first instead of your widgets. So if you want to access your widgets, you have to do one extra step and slide over to the right, and there are your widgets. So that's basically it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. But yeah, I am really liking the iPhone 7. It's a really solid phone. I have to give this phone probably a 9 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because of the lack of the headphone jack. That really disappointed me. I'm still really kind of pissed off that Apple has done that. So I'm not okay with that. But nevertheless, it is still a solid phone, and I would definitely recommend picking it up. If you guys have an iPhone 6s, I don't think I would recommend upgrading, because there's just not enough features to justify the upgrade. Now, if you're using an iPhone 6 or an iPhone 5s, this is an awesome upgrade. I would certainly highly recommend upgrading right now. I don't think you'd be disappointed at all. But yeah, that's basically it for this in-depth review of the iPhone 7 4.7 inch. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button right down below. It's greatly appreciated. Hit that like button as well. That's also much appreciated. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to drop them below and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. But yeah, with that being said, hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.